Now this, Ukraine is desperate for President Trump's help in ending the war before the dead of winter. They're concerned about more Russian attacks on their power grid, which, of course, could put millions of people at risk of freezing. Former U.S. Special Representative for Ukraine negotiations, Kurt Volker, joins us now. Kurt, great to see you. I mean, what can Trump do, and where are we in this war? I mean, at some point we feel like we're getting there, but it just seems still very much untenable at this point.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Great to be with you, Ashley. And what President Trump has done so far, I think, is quite commendable. I think you've got pressure to end the war. You know, everyone's talking about how to end the war. He's got the U.S. and Ukraine fully aligned in those goals. But what he has not done is put pressure on Vladimir Putin to get Putin to actually feel a need himself to end the war. So when Ukraine talks about, President Trump needs to put more pressure on here, they're talking about additional sanctions, secondary sanctions, clarity on the military shipments to Ukraine, even though they're paid for, but to have no delays in any of that, simply to make clear that there is no way Putin is going to win and his position is going to get worse. And when that happens, then I think we have a chance of Putin agreeing a ceasefire. But until then, Putin is very happy to continue these attacks, which are, as you say, really causing suffering in the population in Ukraine.
Before I move on, very quickly, could we get an end to the war this year?
I think so. But it depends on our actions again. I think that Putin's economy is crumbling as it is, but it's going to take time. We can accelerate that if we go for the secondary sanctions and if we assist Ukraine with the long-range attacks that are taking out the energy refineries and the fuel for Russia's military effort.
All right, let's get on to this one, Kurt. Venezuelan security forces have detained several Americans since President Trump started putting pressure on Maduro. How is Trump going to respond to this? We know he doesn't pull his punches, does he?
No, he doesn't. And I think this is a very risky move by the Venezuelan regime. Because if there's one thing that would change President Trump's mind about using real military force, ground forces in Venezuela, it's going to be American hostages. I don't think he will sit still for Americans being detained as hostages here. He has tried to put pressure on Maduro to get him to leave voluntarily. But if they persist in this, trying to kidnap Americans and hold them, I think that is one of the few things that would cause President Trump to go further.
All right. Also, one more for you, Kurt. It's been interesting to follow this. More unrest in Iran. People are protesting the current regime. They're not happy with the way the economy is there. Their currency is basically useless. President Trump has threatened to intervene also if Tehran kills these peaceful protesters. I mean, do you think possibly any change could come out of these protests?
It is possible. We've seen this a few times in the past. We've had mass demonstrations in Iran at a few points in the last couple of decades, but they've never really brought about political change. Here, this feels a little bit different. The regime appears to be much weaker. They were weakened significantly and militarily by Israel and the U.S. striking their facilities earlier. If they try to ramp up their military buildup again, I think that could result in greater Israeli or American action. But for the protests themselves, this is actually showing the weakness of the regime, and it could actually come apart this time. And there, I think it's a tough calculation for President Trump to wonder whether U.S. intervention on there is going to help the protesters or actually cause them to rally a little bit more around the regime against outside interference. So I think that's a judgment call, but there is a possibility for change this time.
But if the mullahs fall, what would that do to the state of affairs in the Middle East?
It would be a game changer, to be honest. Iran has been the source of so much of the turmoil in the Middle East over the past several decades, supporting groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, Hamas, and attacks against Israel. Right now we have, under President Trump's leadership, we have the Abraham Accords, we have Saudi Arabia normalizing gradually with Israel, we have the potential for a real peace in Gaza. The real disruption disruptor in the region is Iran. And if the mullahs were to fall, that would really pave the way for a fundamentally different Middle East.
It could be a very interesting year indeed. We'll have to leave it there, but always great to talk to you, Kurt Volker. We do appreciate your expertise, and Happy New Year to you.